now. Hopefully my computer works okay. I'm recording it in 4K, so it's going to take up a load of disk space. Hopefully it'll work. Right. Responsive page layout. Now, I'm going to, let's scroll down here. This, potentially, everyone see my screen okay, yeah? And hear me? Yeah, perfect. This is the most important lesson, okay? And yet, we're trying to fit in, basically what I'd say is weeks and weeks of learning into one lesson. That's not going to happen. I'm going to expand on this over on this lesson, this lesson, this lesson, this lesson, and this lesson. But I think we're going to keep coming back to this because this is realistically one of the most important things you can learn. And there's no way we can cover it in this kind of time frame. There was one other thing. I don't know if everyone had a go at making some kind of CV. Something that I know Mikkel has. Arjen, I think you have as well, haven't you?
Yeah, but I have to make a new one. That one is not good.
No, that's fine. Make a new one because I really want to get online by I think web promotion.
But do you think even if you don't know the JavaScript and the page looks very static, like with HTML and CSS, will it do?
That's ideal, yeah. There's no,
Yeah.
you don't need fanciness on it yet. What you need to set up an online presence so that Google starts capturing you. You know.
Simplicity is the key.
Sorry?
Simplicity is the key.
Yeah, as long as it's got the right text in it. The longer you've got, say, like a web presence, the longer you've got a website on, the more Google will trust you. It takes a year for Google to start trusting you. You know, so the sooner we get this up, the better. Okay, because it means then we can actually talk about web promotion, you know, with some kind of objective we can actually promote, you know, your own website. That means, you know, putting on Google Analytics, that kind of thing, you know. But without that, everything's going to be in the abstract, you know, and I just don't think it's going to be that good. Gareth, are you thinking of making one? I know you did your We Are the Robots one.
I don't know. I might do something different.
Right.
Just to mix it up a bit.
So you probably, I mean, realistically, you probably don't need to promote yourself quite as much. You know what I mean?
Not really.
No.
Probably not. But I still will do something. Haven't decided what yet. But you know, it won't be on Craftwork.
No, Craftwork's great. See, the reason, because we've got that assessment coming up, and one of the options is to make a site on a band. So there's nothing wrong with you just sort of expanding on that.
No, I'm still tipping away at that, but I'm really just using it for fun, just to lay things out and just experiment with the different properties of.
Yeah. I know that's great. As long as we get something online, then we can actually look at this stuff. You know, with a live website. That's the big thing. What about yourself, Manuel? Think you'll be able to get a CV up and running? You know, remember that green thing, that big green page? Mm-hmm. You able to get anything with that? Anywhere with that at all? Let me show you. I'll show you this. CV one-page design. So the idea is that you make something like this. I put on a video, I think it's about 50 minutes. But you basically make a very simple page like this. But obviously you put your own name in it, that kind of thing.
I think I showed you what I was working on, but as Arjen said as well, I'm gonna change it out.
That's okay. All right. No, it's the more times you do it, the better. Because, you know, like I say, this is like working out. The reason I want us to get this up is that, let's say, as soon as you start getting something online, you'll feel better, even if it's ugly. But it's not only that, Google will start discovering you. You know, I'm encouraging you to buy your own domain, which is going to be about €18 a year, and it will give you a free email address as well. You know, so
what
just.
About the hosting?
Sorry?
What about the hosting? From where should I get the hosting?
Oh, you'd have to worry about the hosting. This is what's exciting about doing it this way. We get the hosting, we get some of the best hosting on the planet completely free. When we commit to GitHub, it can actually host it for us.
How? Like,
Well,
did you already show us?
I'm going to. I can show you. I
Okay.
can. It's very, very easy, but I need you to have something online. Okay, so this is what I mean. I want us to get to that point, but we need to have a repository online that has an index.html and some kind of CSS. It can be very basic. Let's say it can be very basic like this. This is ideal, and then you can.
Well, I received it wasn't an email. Well, anyway, the track for the final assessment of this unit
Yeah.
for web design, and it said that you have to be on GitHub, and you can actually visit it in any web page.
Yeah. Let's have a wee look.
To be up and running.
So GitHub, and I'll go for, let's see, I can actually go for the example final project. So remember, have a look at this, because this is one I've made that would make a good final project. Okay, we see we've got this index.html. That's, any server's going to look for that. That's its entry point, this index. Now if we go to settings, come down to pages. Your site is live. See that? That's online.
So is it in Google's directory? Yeah.
Has Google found it? Has Google found it? Do you think? Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like usually we have to put it in the Google's directory, the website.
The cheeky thing you've got to do realistically is like, yeah, we need to let Google about it, know about it. But you can see it's given us this scabby. Look at that. HTTPS UCD FullStack May 2023.github.io. Now, if we replace that, if I look at, say, tomsweeney.dev, which I know is available, this can be tomsweeney.dev.
Where can you change that?
How do you change it? You change it using DNS. I can show you that, but it'd be good if we could get everybody up at the same kind of level. You know, the sooner we get this done, the sooner you've got an entry point. You know, so when you go for a job, it's better than saying, oh, look, you know, my name's Aryan Vade 2017 at gmail.com. You know, it's me at aryanvade.dev or whatever. You know, that kind of thing. But that's live. That's hosted completely for free. It is running like the absolute clappers.
Is it not loading though?
That's on GitHub, yeah. So, and one of the great things about this is any changes you make to the code, it just goes live. You know what I mean? You just push it to your repo and you've got a live website. But we need to, each one of you needs to get something up and running basically for us to put this live.
I have a website that I already made before with HTML and CSS, but I don't know how to, like, it's on the GitHub, but I don't know how to do this.
Okay.
Like the way you showed.
It really is just getting into, let's see.
Do you want me to share my screen, and if you can show me?
I'll show you here. It's really, really easy. If you just go to the,
Okay.
so basically you just go into the repo itself, go to settings, and then it's under pages.
Okay.
And it's just there, you just literally make it live from there. You can put your own custom domain on it, like I said. It's really, really easy.
I can also copy paste the link onto my LinkedIn.
You can, yeah, you can do that as well. I wouldn't because it's long and rubbish. This is why I'd suggest for 18 euros a year, let's just buy domains. You know, that's what I'd suggest.
Now, when you say make it live,
yeah,
is there a button? Is there a button or something? Because I'm just looking at it, trying to see where the button is to make it live.
Sure. So you're on. Right, let's get back here. This will be obviously your repo. Can everybody see this? Okay, is this big enough?
Yeah, but I'm trying to follow you, so hold on.
I can make it bigger if you like. Let's see. Okay, so settings. Okay, and then it's down here on the left, just at the bottom. So we've got access, code and automation, and right at the bottom, pages.
Okay, I need to upgrade, right?
It's saying to upgrade. So there should be an option here to deploy from branch.
Asking me to upgrade and it's $48 a year.
Well, the GitHub Enterprise.
No way, you don't need that. You do not
It'll
need
be
that.
100 next week.
You do not need that. No, it's completely free. You should not. You do not have to upgrade at all.
So I think I'm on the screen you're talking about, but I don't see any deploy from branch. I see build and deployment.
Right? What does it say under source?
Yes.
Have you got an index.html in the root folder? Sorry, Gareth, you're gone.
Okay, I know why.
Please click on. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. So you've got to make sure you've got this index.html.
Yeah, no, I do. I'm not going to click it on the one I clicked on because I was just messing around there. But yeah, I see the deploy from branch now.
Right.
On the drop down menu.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's great. So you can put that live and we're good to go. Any luck, Arian? So
I just opened my GitHub. And I'm in my project that I made,
yeah.
and then I don't know where I have to go.
Right. So it's just in settings. Okay. And then settings, pages. So here it is. See it up there? So there's your project. And then it's at the end. Just go to settings, pages.
Oh, yeah. Oh, actually,
Deploy from branch. Yes. Master, root. And that should be it. Why is it not working? Yeah. Master, root. And it should be an option to save. So I've unpublished mine, so I think that's what's causing me problems.
Says build and development source deploy from a branch. Do I have to click over there? Yeah.
Yeah, deploy from branch, and that should be it. Right.
And save it.
You just hit save, yeah, and then you'll get an email when it goes live, and it's as simple as that.
Oh, perfect.
That should get your
Thank
live
you.
website. Now, obviously, I'll go over that again. I do think it's quite important that we get something online. So we can start putting it on LinkedIn, social media, that kind of thing. Because if you're going to be a full stack developer and you go in there with a crappy email, whatever 2022 at gmail.com and some awful, what is this? Yeah. What's this one? UCD full stack? Yeah, it doesn't stream professional. Okay, so this responsive page layout stuff, this is the most important thing that we're ever going to look at. Tables, not so much. Forms, this, not so much. This, not so much, and this, not so much. So I want us to have all of this looking at responsive page layout. Okay, so I'm going to carry this on. I'm not going to do everything tonight because I really want us to sort of get this 100%. Like I've said to you before, I've done some marking for the previous two intakes and no one's getting this. And after seeing this tonight, well, actually I started working on this yesterday, I can see why. You know what I mean? There's only like an hour devoted to the most important thing. To put it this another way, I bought a course on FlexBox last year and the videos were 6 hours. The course supplementary tier was like another 5 hours, and that was just on FlexBox. So in this tonight, we're going to be looking at FlexBox, which you've probably heard about. I know I've kind of touched on it a little bit. I've sort of, just putting a wee bit in the code and what have you. But this is it. We're actually going to start using it in earnest. And once you get a grip of this and grid, you're laughing. You really are. You can make pretty much anything. We're going to configure the FlexBox container and FlexBox items. Now, this is an interesting thing. Anything that's inside a FlexBox turns into a FlexBox item. You'll see that. I'm going to suggest, because normally tonight I just talk, I'm actually going to suggest tonight that we all give this a try, actually making maybe a gallery or something like that. Okay, because I really want to try hammering this home. This is the biggie. Same with the grid. So we've got these two things, the grid container, or CSS grid, and CSS FlexBox. These two things really make up the modern web. And I really want us to get, I'm going to keep hammering at home, I really want us to get to grips with this. Yeah, we're going to have a little look at this and what happens when you don't use it. Because we've been having a look at, you know, when we make a new document, we've put in an exclamation mark, we've hit tab, and we've been given this introductory code. And then some of that code I don't think we've really looked at yet. So we've got this viewport meta tag that's incredibly important. Okay, thankfully we can just set it and forget it. We've also got the media queries, which again I think I've touched on. So these things like media queries, flexible images, I want to keep doing this over the next 5 weeks. Really getting this hammered home, getting it into your brains as much as possible. So we'll touch on it tonight. We'll have some practice. And then next week we'll also touch on it again. Because we could go, let's say, we could go on for weeks about this. So, first one is FlexBox. Okay, that's the one that came out first. Before this, if you remember, on Tuesday we briefly looked at floats. So if you were going to make like a gallery or something like that, you had to go absolute mental and say, right, float left, right. The next one, float right. Okay, clear, float. And it was just an absolute mess. FlexBox has solved a lot of that, thankfully. So here's what it's good at, basically. It's mostly good at making sort of one-dimensional layouts like you have here. So you can imagine here, this is going to make a good menu, a top menu. And what's nice about it, when the screen resizes, the menu would change direction. So you've got it left to right, and then top to bottom, and the screen size changes. So if you're viewing it in a mobile, it could look like this, top to bottom. When you're viewing it on desktop, it could be left to right. Right, so he's basically just given us the features of this. So I'm going to switch over to this little web page that I made so we can have a look. Okay, and you can obviously clone this as well. This is online. Okay, so the first thing we've got, and I did that little grow thing for you, Gareth. See it? Thought I'd entertain you. The first one we've got is basically just looking at columns, the FlexBox. So this is the default, isn't it? So when we put in divs, they just stack 1, 2, 3. They just stack on top of the other. This is the default behavior. So where is our columns? So to inspect this, see what this one's called. There's flex columns. Where is it? Okay, we'll just make one. Flex columns. Okay, and this is going to target this container that's got these 3 divs inside it. So by default, as we know, everything is display block. Okay, so I'm going to change this container into a flex container by just saying display flex. And look what happens. Whoa. Alright. So instead of everything being on top of each other, it's placing everything side by side. It's also resized these divs. It's made them as small as they can possibly be, which is unusual. So, well, what now? So what we can do is target each of these individually. Okay, so we can make them bigger back to the size they were. And we do that by saying flex columns what next? I want to get inside here. What should I type now? Child selector. What's the child selector?
Div.
Is it? Right.
Forward arrow.
Yes, it's the arrow. It's the greater than. And I want to target everything inside this flex container. In fact, let's put in a border here.
Everything you just do with space, don't you?
Let's see. So I'm just going to put, so you can see what this is, solid black. So you can see this is the actual flex container itself, okay? I'll make that a bit bigger. 8 pixels. So flex comms, yeah, you were saying a space. And that's going to select, but that's the descendant, remember? So that's going to select everything that's inside everything. In fact, let's see. I'm going to select everything like that, just like you said. And I'm going to put a border around them. 2 pixels, solid black. And yeah, it's worked. It was said, but potentially, if this was, say, like a paragraph inside there, it would select that as well. So remember, we want that's the child. We only want the immediate children. We don't want every descendant possible. We just want the immediate children. And we're selecting everything, so we use the asterisks. Okay? Is everybody kind of getting clear on this sort of descendant, you know, these kind of things that I'm talking about? I started making a video for this as well. Unfortunately, I'm on my own, you know, making these videos. So basically, they will take a bit of time because I've got to do it in my spare time, basically. But I have made it.
I thought if you use the class name for the outer object and then space,
Yeah.
and then inner object name, the inner class, I should say, it selected all of them. If you don't use the arrow.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So that would be the same thing as using the star.
Oh no! So star just means everything. So
if you let's say inside the outer container you had 2 or 3 different classes of object. Let's say you had 3 different classes and you had 3 objects of each class. So you had 9 objects inside the outer. If you did dot outer class object, then space inner class object, but you named one of them specifically, would that edit the 3 that you named and ignore?
yes, yeah. The more specific you can be, the better. But you can see what I've done here. So if I take away this, right, and put in, so I'm going to add a border again. Border, 8 pixels, solid. We'll make it red this time. Hopefully you can see it. Look what's happened. Let's put it black so you can see it. Let's put a border around this paragraph. But this paragraph is existing, and where is it? Where is it? FlexBox columns. Should be up here. There we go. This paragraph is inside this div, and yet that selected it. But if I take away, or if I put in the little chevron, look, I got rid of that. It's only ever going to select the immediate children. So it's not its grandchildren or whatever. It's just the immediate children. So that's very handy. Just going to get rid of this paragraph. Does that seem all right? How is that, Gareth? Is it all right, you think? Okay, I definitely need to keep going over this because it's high octane stuff. So we've got 8 pixels solid. So we've got these. This is a flex container, okay, and everything that's inside it now is a flex item. Now what's interesting here is we're coming in and we're selecting all of these, okay, direct descendants, and we're just adding a black border around it. What's interesting is that FlexBox has decided to shrink everything down to the smallest it could possibly be, which I personally don't think that's... Well, if you're making a menu bar, it might be fine. But if you're making something, you know, like this, where you've got cards or you've got like an image gallery, you're going to want them to take up the maximum space possible. So you might say, let's increase the width to like 200 pixels, you say? Yeah, could do that. Maybe add 100%, with 100%. That did work. However, let's see, flex direction. So at the moment, it's column. If we change that to row, sorry, I bet you I've got it wrong. Yes, if we change this back to row, column I should say, width doesn't really work. They've actually got this special thing here called flex basis. And we can make that 100%. You won't notice any difference here. But the nice thing about it is, and we'll get to it, is you can grow and shrink as needed. We'll get to that when we go down for this grid section here. Let's go back to row. And that's basically your first FlexBox. Okay. Just get this one section. Look how easy that was. In fact, let's get rid of the borders. And let's look at the tiny, tiny, tiny amount of code we've got there. And there's one other thing I would put in to make this look a wee bit nicer, and that's gap. And we'll put in 1 EM. There we go. We have a look at this. I didn't show you how to do that, but that's essentially just what FlexBox would do. Those three are perfectly aligned. Any questions on that? Any comments before we move on? No? Okay. So our next section is going to be basically looking at a grid in FlexBox. We've got FlexBox itself. It can kind of emulate the grid, but there's some advantages to doing it this way, and there's some advantages to doing it using grid. So let's have a look at display flex. Is it going to work? Display flex, where is it? I bet you it's crashed. Let's see, flex container, flex columns. Hang on a minute. I just need to see what that's called again. Flex griddy, that's it. I gave it a stupid name. There we go. Display flex, and it's gonna bring everything together again in one line. It's gonna keep trying to put it into one line. Because remember, this is what it's good at. This is one of its advantages over grid. If you've got a one-dimensional layout, this is when you would use FlexBox. Okay. Flex, at the moment, flex wrap is set to no wrap, meaning that it will try and put everything in one line or one column. Now, if we change that to wrap, there we go. Control Shift M. If we resize that, look at that. It's taking care of that for you. It doesn't look amazing, As you can see what it's done again, it's shrinking everything down to the smallest size possible. So you can see the 10 is going to be bigger than, say, the 7 because it's got 2 digits in it, isn't it? So let's bring that over there. And we can say flex grow 1. Look what it's done. So we've done the exact same thing again. We've got this flex griddy container. This, and we'll put in a border 8 pixel solid black. Okay. So that's our flex container. Everything inside it are our flex items. And we're doing that again. We're selecting everything inside this flex container. And we're saying, just grow. Just allow everything inside this flex box to grow as needed. To fill up that space. Control Shift M. Okay, so I'm just going to inspect this and resize it. Look at that. You can see what it's doing. It's just doing it anyway. You know what I mean? It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. It's like there's a space there. Right, put that in there. Because look, 1, 2, 3 are all at the top. Because those are the smallest digits that are taking up a very small amount of space. And then 10's just taking up all the space at the bottom. Because there's 2 digits in that. But you're letting the browser take care of this basically. And shrink it. And it should all go back to... Yep, 1 line. Again, there's one other thing I put in here, and that is just put a gap in. Maybe put in, yeah, just 1 EM. And we'll get rid of that border. Come on. Right, have I lost you yet? Okay. Is this kind of clear? Or is it all just absolute nonsense?
I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense.
Right.
Just a bit confused with wrap.
Sorry?
What about the wrap? Just a bit confused with the flex wrap.
Ah, okay. So we get rid of flex wrap then.
Yeah, please.
What's going to happen? Oh, look at that.
Okay.
It's forcing it onto 1 line. So by default,
The display flex doesn't row, is it?
yeah, right. So let's see. To me, this is the best way to learn things. Actually, go in deleting things. Let's get rid of all this stuff. Gap.
Is there a way to set the max or minimum amount of items per line in the wrap? Or
Yes, kind of. Yeah, and I'll sort of get onto that because I'm going to look at a sort of full when you've got header, nav, main, aside, and footer. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. It's kind of ugly, and it's not something I'd necessarily recommend doing. When I'm using FlexBox is when I just don't care. When I've got a bunch of arbitrarily sized things, you know, and it's just like, right, look, you take care of it. You know, that's what it's really, really good at. When you want more order and structure, that's when you use grid. Okay, so I've got some real examples. Obviously, this is just like a wee playground, you know. It's very bright and sort of garish because I was, you know, I want to make it obvious. I might make sure you guys see this. But I'll go back to the site that I was working on Tuesday, and we'll add FlexBox and grid into that later. So
Isn't that grid the one that you use for the panel project example?
Yeah, so that's using FlexBox and grid in there as well. Obviously, that's all online. But I did one on Tuesday that I'd intended to basically continue. In fact, I will be continuing on with it tonight. I know you weren't, you couldn't see the video manual, but to be honest, there wasn't a huge amount to miss. You know what I mean? Yeah, I wouldn't really worry about it too much. This and what's coming up is the most important things. So as long as that's what I'm saying, this is why I'm recording this, because we can't really afford for it not to be recorded. Right, so in fact, let's start from the beginning. Let's get rid of the display flex. And all we've got now is, see this border, 8 pixels solid black. Look at this, all we've got is a div with some divs in it. Yep. One stacked on top of the other by default. Now we're hitting display, we're putting display flex, because by default it's display block, isn't it? And a block is just a block level element that's just placed one on top of the other by default in HTML. Okay, that's how we have this basically. There's obviously other things we can do with display, hide and all that kind of thing, but what we're looking at now is display flex. That then changes everything inside it to a flex item. And this now has control over everything inside it. It only affects what's inside it. It doesn't affect anything outside. Okay, so it doesn't affect margins. Sorry? So it doesn't affect anything outside it, like margins or padding or anything. That's purely what's inside it. So by default, it's shrank everything down. So all we're left with is the contents and the padding that's in this. But it will try and shrink it down to its absolute smallest size possible, which is actually kind of handy if you're making something like a menu bar at the top. Okay. Now let's bring in this.
Tom,
Yeah?
Tom, why is it not made them smaller again? Could it not? I think you've got 10 objects, have you? Why could it not make them actually fit?
Because it can't compromise the contents. HTML has one goal, and that's to display that information to you. It does not care how it looks. It will make, let's see.
Each box is a single character. You could fit them in if it wanted to.
You could, but that's up to me. So I'd have to come in. So that's one thing. This is one thing Mikhail was talking about. So obviously I want you guys to download this. And there's basically 2 bits to this. I've embedded the style in this HTML. And this is the stuff where we're basically going to mess around with this. Okay? But I've put another CSS file, and that's just how things look. So you don't really have to look at that. You see here, so this is the item, this is an item here, and that's an item. All that is just a class, Gary. But look inside it. First of all, we've got, let's bring the font size down. Now it's worked. Okay, because it's got enough space, but it's not going to compromise that information. That's way more important than how it looks. We've got the padding. Sorry?
I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah. Let's get rid of the padding. There you go. Now it's been left with more space. So I think that's what you're thinking of, that they could shrink away that padding. That's just there for looks, basically. Okay. Just save that off. And we're into this. Where is it? Where is it? It's down here, isn't it? Flex Griddy. There we go. So this is where this wrap comes in. Flex wrap. By default, it's no wrap. As you can see. As soon as we change that into wrap, brilliant. Look how intelligent that is. It's saying, right, okay, he's set a width on this. So it's actually looking at the grid container, saying, right, that's the maximum that can grow. Now I'm just going to wrap these items. I'm just going to place them below. Okay, and that's implicit sizing. Okay, so that's me letting the browser take care of this, which is really handy. By default, flex shrink is set to 1. You can imagine what that does. So each of these items can shrink to fit. However, flex grow is set to 0 by default. As soon as we take that over to 1, look. See? Ideally, it's putting it all in one line. There's enough space for it to do that. Yeah, great. No, there's not. Look, it's just moving things about. So it can fill up that space. Let's see if we get really small. Okay, yeah, I mean, you can expect that. But you're never going to have anything that small anyway. I mean, that's smaller than the smallest iPhone. That's pretty tasty. Any comments on this before we kind of soldier on? Anything you want to try?
All right, thank you.
Okay. The other thing was this. Sorry?
So just a question.
Of course.
About the row there. What happens if you put like 2? Can you put 2?
If I do what flex shrink and flex grow.
Yeah.
Oh, so that just basically that's on and off.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could probably put 200 in there. No, it's not going to work. But that's a good question. Yeah, so let's put in flex grow 10. 100. No, so it's basically on and off. You know? Now this flex.
2 is no and 1 is yes with the 2.
So I think, let's see actually, so we try like flex grow 100 pixels? Nah. It is, it's just on and off. 1 and 0, which is odd. It's a sort of odd naming conversion. But there is a reason they've done this. And I'll just show you after this. So flex basis is like its inherent size. So we can say 30, let's see 33%. Look at that. It's going to try and take up 33% of the width. But we've also got this flex grow and flex shrink on. Control Shift M. Yeah, so it's still allowing it to shrink and resize. What if we get rid of this flex shrink? Actually, let's set it to 0. It's still doing it, that's weird. It's very strange, let's see. Oh, of course, yeah, right. That's because wrap's on anyway. But it shouldn't really get any smaller than 33. Yeah, idiot. Let's do 200 pixels. So you can see it's a percentage of its container. So of course it's going to resize. There we go. It's not going to get any, as soon as it hits 200 pixels or 199 pixels, it's going to wrap onto the next line. Like shrink, bring that back in. Let's see if that, yeah, it's about the same really. So let's see, let's get back to say, I don't know, let's say 25% is the flex basis. And you can just see, yeah, that's exactly what we'd expect. It's trying to fit 4 in. But it's only got 2 at the end. You know what I mean? There's no 4 there. So it's just like, I'll just make these bigger. We take away the flex grow. It's just going to put them on at the end. And it's going to look No way to look great. Let's be honest, they're not aligned. I might put a gap in there. Let's resize that. There we go. Oh, that one's overblown. There we go. Okay. Now, there's a shorthand way to say this because we're saying flex shrink, flex grow, and flex basis. So we can actually put this in one line. Let's say flex grow, flex shrink, or is it, sorry, flex shrink, flex grow, and then flex basis at the end. So you'll probably see it mostly written like that. For some reason it's not. Let's go flex shrink. Let's try 30%. Okay, maybe 33% is too big. That's mostly how you'll see it. And some people even just say flex 1. And that's just literally, that's overwriting these values here. And that's just saying flex grow, yes. Flex shrink, yes. Flex basis, right, like 100%. Just go for it. You figure it out. Yeah, that's just, yeah, basically just you do what you can to fit this inside this container. Right, I'm going to keep asking this. Is anybody confused? I mean, I know you're confused, of course. Yeah. You okay, Gareth? Yeah, you're all right.
Yeah.
You're the only one I can see. That's the thing. It's like you and I sitting in the pub. Everybody else has turned their screens off.
I wouldn't mind a drink.
Well, no, tell me about it.
Sorry, I'm eating my dinner, so I don't want to be munching on camera.
It's all right. It's so honestly, I'd rather see you than not. To try and make it a bit more kind of, because honestly, it's madness. It's absolute madness. Because I just keep turning around and I'm like, oh, they've gone. They buggered off. That's my greatest fear, that I'm just sitting here talking to myself. Right, is any questions here so far? Right.
I have one, but it's not really related to Flex.
Okay, it's not to do with Flex.
No, but I mean, on the how do you do the effector when you go on the item?
But the grow thing, yeah, that's really easy. It's funny because I was trying to do it. I completely forgot how to do it the other night. But if we go into our style CSS, it's called transform. So this actually, I'll talk about this a little bit because you did miss the last thing. So we've got these things called pseudo classes, and every single item inside HTML has it. Okay, so you can see this one's called hover, and you can imagine when that triggers, when you move your mouse over it. Okay, now on that hover, I've just said transform, scale, and then we can put a number in here. So if I put 2, it's going to get twice the size. Okay. Pretty cool effect, isn't it? And it's really simple to do. Obviously 2 is way too big. So we can say like let's say 1.02. So let's just get that kind of nice little. And the other thing is this
translate.
Sorry?
There is an option for transform and translate. What does it?
Translate's going to move things around the screen. Okay. So we'll be actually, yeah. So you'd be translating the origin. You know, usually the origin for each. It's a bit kind of mathsy, but yeah. Sometimes you have to translate the position before you transform it, because you can get absolute mental. We can have these spinning about in 3D and all that kind of stuff.
Can you make something that will be changing shape?
Yeah.
let's say it will be a circle, and when you hover, it will be turned into a star or something.
Right. But what we could do, right, is change the border radius to say 50%. And it'll give you that. It'll give you like a sort of hover.
Okay.
Now, we took away these transitions. Whoa.
I seen some.
You can see it's starting to look quite ugly, isn't it? I don't know if you
I
can
seen
see
some
that.
portfolio, and the guy had a picture of himself, and it was just changing shapes, like from circle to triangle
Yeah.
and so.
I mean, that's a totally kind of different thing. You're better actually using WebGL for that. I don't know if you can see this because we're transforming the radius, but you can actually see just at the sides there. See that? Barely see it. It's almost like there's some of the straight side still there. This is where things get ugly because what it's doing, it's actually caching the results. So it's almost just doing this with pictures. It's doing a lot of stuff to try and make this as fast as possible. The other thing we didn't do is we didn't transition the border. Transition, transform. So let's say all. Let's transform all. See if that works. See? So we're just literally saying, like, transition from this state. Okay, this is the default state. And when we hover, I want you to transform a scale. And I want you to change the border radius. And have a transition. So I don't want you to just basically create, you know, I basically want you to smooth this over 0.3 seconds. Let's do this over 1 second. It's kind of cool. Does that answer your question, Manuel?
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to get rid of this border radius. But that's, yeah, this is worth talking about a bit, is these different states that you can have. Okay, that's probably something that I'll have to get back over again at some point anyway. But it's not hugely important. It is more for sort of fanciness, you know.
They said they should upload the video by the end of the week, but if they will, I'll definitely see it.
See, I don't understand this because Zoom takes care of this. You know, it's actually built into Zoom because as soon as I start up, it says we're recording, and then I get a little email saying, right, it's ready to view as soon as I hit stop. So I don't understand. Let's say I'm recording this anyway. You guys won't be on the video.
You guys received the email.
No, I don't have. They don't. Basically, I get everything, but you get it. Yeah.
I don't know.
So it's so strange, but like, let's say what I'll do is I'm recording this just now. You won't appear in the video. It'll just be my voice and my screen. Okay, so I can sort of cut that up, maybe edit it as well and get rid of the sort of bits that aren't that useful.
Just a quick note to let you know that there might be delays in accessing the revision video in the LMS this week.
Oh, interesting. Odd. Okay, where were we? Right.
Justify.
The what? Sorry?
I think you were saying justify, I think was the next thing you were
Justify. Justify, was it? I don't think it was, but yeah, that is something we can do.
No, sorry, I thought I heard you saying it, but maybe I imagined it.
Have you been reading up by any chance?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, good, because there's justify content, yeah. Very good. We'll be getting to that. This potentially, and I would never do this personally, but you could create a full layout. Okay, so you could have your header inside a FlexBox and your footer. I wouldn't do this personally. But
I've seen a few things where if you're on a full-size desktop, you might have a big header across the top, and then you have your menus in a row or to the side. Sorry, the header kind of goes to the left, and then the menu items are to the right in a line. But as you get smaller, the menu items wrap underneath. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that kind of thing. That's what it's good
So
for.
that would be a header and a nav in a flex in a way, wouldn't it? Or it could be, I should say.
Probably just it's, to be honest, it's probably not the head. It's probably just the nav. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was this kind of fascination when these tools first came out. Like, oh, it's amazing. We can put everything in there. And so that's how you ended up with people putting their headers in there, their navs in there, main, and the whole page. Sorry, the whole page was basically inside either a FlexBox or a grid. Whereas I'd say that's not the way to do it at all. You know what I mean? You want to have everything work doing what it does best. So we don't need the header inside there. You know, realistically. We certainly don't need the footer in there. It's not really bringing anything. But this is roughly how you would do it anyway. So we've got, because remember, we're just talking about divs again. You've got your header, and then you've got a nav, main, a side, which is basically, again, that's just like section. It's just a div, really, but you call it an aside because you could have maybe supplementary information like a bio or whatever. If it was a blog, then obviously your footer. So, where are we? We're there. Obviously, when we hit flex again, it's going to go back and it's going to put everything in this one line. So, we're going to grab everything again and we're going to say, in fact, we're going to put wrap in, aren't we? Because we want everything to be able to wrap again. And it's going to give us that. Okay. Pretty ugly. But again, it's trying to fit everything into this box. I'll just put a border in there again. Let's see. Border, 8 pixel, solid, black. In the wrong one. And there we go. So we could put in flex grow. 1. It's going to, yeah, great. It's going to give us, it's going to try and fill up that space that we've got. Make everything as wide as possible. Okay, and just try and fit it in like a jigsaw. Let's put a gap in. I'm going to say 2 EM this time. Okay, so we can see everything. It's at this point where we want this header. Okay, we want that 100% width. Okay, so you can see here, I've selected everything. And I'm going to say, I'm going to give it a flex basis of 33%. Right, so everything's going to be a third, roughly. This is applying to everything. So here we go with one of these little pseudo classes again. Okay, and this one's called nth child. Okay, so if I select nth child 1, background color red. There we go. That's me. I'm selecting the first child of the full layout of this container. I put in 2, 3. Yeah, I can just go through them like that. So we want the first one, and we want to set the width of that, or the flex basis of that, to 100%. Nice. We've got a header. And we've got a footer here. We basically want to do the same. That's the nth child, and it's a 5. Okay. Just delete that. And background color blue, and there we go. Those are taking up the full width. This is is interesting. Of course, we've got the gaps in there. So we're going to have to make that a bit smaller. Say 25%. It's still not working. Why is it not working? 20%. Flex shrink. Flex base is 20%.
Is your gap on the top, in the top bit, full layout, gap 2EM?
Yeah. So let's see. So there's a flex, say full layout, flex, wrap, gap. So let's get rid of the gap. Let's see what it does. Nah, so that aside for some reason. So we've only selected our first, our first child, made it red and given it a flex basis 100%. And then the last one. Sorry?
What percentage do you have on the, don't you have 33% or is it, or do you have?
I did, yeah. So I put them down to, let's see, 33%, but that should.
You go a bit less, might.
That's what I was thinking, but it doesn't seem to be working. That's weird. Wonder if it's because I'm zoomed right in. That was weird. That was worrying. That was working fine.
Can the nth child thing? Can you inside see the way you have nth child open bracket 1 close bracket? Could you go 1, 2, 3 if you wanted to grab a few of them?
No. So you're thinking go like that?
Yeah, 1 to 3 or
yeah.
1 / I just thought like if you've obviously done the header and footer, if you wanted to grab the 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So basically that's what so this is grabbing all of them, okay? And I don't know why it's not giving me. This is working perfectly earlier. Why is this not working? So those 3 should come together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No idea why. Don't know what I've done. Odd.
Maybe a site is too big.
Yeah. So basically, flexi full layout. So this is this. See it here. This is the flex layout. This is the flexi layout. And then get in, I'm selecting everything, and I'm saying you can grow, you can shrink, and your flex basis is 33%. And then because this is CSS and there's a cascade, I'm overwriting the flex basis on this header. So I'm actually saying I want 100%, take up the lot. Yeah, because that's overwriting that value. And it's the same with the footer. So everything's starting off, it's got this flex basis of 33%. That is very annoying. Right. Anyway, that is the way it should work. I've got an awful feeling it's because I'm zooming my screen in or something like that, you know, making it bigger. I don't know if that's changing it. Let's see. Even if I say like 25%.
Actually, you said the contents, the integrity of the contents has to remain. The text inside those boxes is quite large. There's no way that would fit. 3 of those would fit side by side.
I think you're right. That's what it is. Of course, because this worked perfectly earlier when I had the smaller text. So that's exactly as Gareth said. Thank you. That's what it is.
That's what I was trying to say when I said resize it. Maybe open large, but make larger the page, and it might.
See it? Do you see what happens when I brought it down to 70%? So it's exactly as Gareth said. Look, he's a genius. He's a bloody genius. Thanks, man.
I just proved that I'm listening.
I know. I do appreciate the listening. So because you're sitting there yawning, I'm like, oh God, but you're listening as well. I'm impressed.
No promises on the yawning.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So I've made everything bigger. It's made the content bigger. And as such, this side can't exist in the same line. Perfect, yeah. So that's something to think about, really. So with this, basically, the content is king. Right, so we should have a look at these notes, I suppose. Let's see what he's saying. Right. Yeah. FlexFlow. Okay, he's got that as well. Yep, covered that. Let us say some of this, I'm not going to throw it all at you in one night. We're going to come back to it. Okay, we're going to expand on it, I think. What I really want is for everybody to get a decent website up and running. You know what I mean? Something that doesn't look awful. Right? So with that in mind, if we can all make something that employs, you know, you can imagine you've got some nice pictures of whatever in there. You know what I mean? It's going to look fine. Okay, so Flex, 3-column, yes, would we look at that? And now we're on a grid. Okay. Perfect, right. I'm going to suggest we take just a wee 5-minute break here while I prepare a few things, okay?
Cool.
See you in five minutes.
Thomas, just a quick question.
Of course,
Does
man.
it matter? Does it matter that you put it in HTML or in CSS? Is it which one is better?
What, you mean the actual styles themselves?
Yeah. The FlexBox and I see that you put the NTH in the HTML.
I did, yeah.
Alert. I don't put in CSS. Does it matter? Which one is the better
It
way?
does. It does. So normally I'd recommend, right, let's go in here. I want, when you guys are doing this, I want to have everything in style sheets, external style sheets, because you're going to have more than one page. Okay. So it means you can use this external style sheet with multiple pages. The reason I'm just putting stuff in here tonight is because I want you to download this and basically have a play with it. I'll send through some exercises and you can have a kind of play around with this stuff. When you think about it, all this is, there's no styling here. It's all just got to do with these flex containers. You know, so it's easier than having to scroll through all this madness. But that's it. Normally, yeah, I'd prefer if you used external stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to ask a similar question because, like, I saw you still link the style sheet on the HTML, but then when you're rewriting it in HTML, is overwriting the style sheet, so
Yes.
the HTML is considered more important, or?
Yeah, because it's actually inside. So there's different. I mean, you're right. This is where it gets interesting. This belongs inside this page. We can't use it elsewhere, but it has got a higher specificity. So let's think. We've got these items here. So I've just called these items, like dot item. So we're inside this page. If I say dot item, oops, dot item, and we'll change, I don't know, I'll just change the background color to pink. And it's changed every single one of them, even though I've already defined them inside this external style sheet. But look, it's only overwritten that one value. It's only overwritten background color. Yeah.
So this is mostly used if you want to make changes only in the one page rather than the.
Exactly. I would never recommend using this unless it's purely for this kind of messing around stuff. I wanted everything in this one page tonight so we can just kind of float about. I also wanted to separate this styling here from just, let's say, just the general crap. You just don't need to really mess about with this. You know what I mean? That's just how this looks in the layout. What you should be kind of focusing on is this stuff here. So I think it's just easier for you guys to take this in. Obviously, this is on GitHub. And if you download it, you can basically have a wee play around, you know, with flex basis, that kind of thing, and you can see the changes. Let's say if you like, I can give you actual little, you know, tasks to do, sort of mess around with this. It is very important that you kind of get to grips with this. I'm going to keep saying that, I know. I'm going to bore you with saying that. But the reason I keep saying it is that when I was, so I've done the marking for, I think, about 35 students now, and not one of them got this, right? So this is why I'm like, right, okay. There was only one lady that got it right, and she basically took my code from the example. She just went on to GitHub and copied and pasted it, and I was like, right, okay, that's one way to do it.
And sorry, Thomas, one last question.
Of course, man, please, please.
Sorry, I know I'm a pain in the arse.
You're not at all, no.
I wanted to ask you, is there possible to include a FlexBox in a FlexBox in a FlexBox?
Yes, nested flex boxes. Yes, there certainly is. In fact, these are the kind of things you'll find yourself doing. And this is why I don't like, see all this kind of nonsense, like that. You just don't need that. So inside your header, you would have a flex box, and you could say position things in that. And then maybe in this aside, you'd have a form, and there'd be a flex box in that. You know, you can actually lay, you can imagine like this here as a form, you know what I mean? Like put your name here, and then there's a button at the bottom, and as you resize it, it all kind of flows. But yeah, to answer your question, you can have grids and grids and grids, flex boxes going in and in and in. In fact, that's interesting that we didn't look at that. So let's think. Should we try it with, I think we'll try it with this one, the FlexBox full layout. Class.
Weren't you supposed to take a break, Thomas? I'm sorry about that now.
Sorry?
Weren't you supposed to take a break though? I'm so sorry about that.
That's all right. No. I was going to prepare. I've got other things prepared for you. So there's a few different things to sort of play with. Because what I don't want to do is just sit here and you're seeing these wee silly boxes. You know what I mean? Because I've seen that before, and you're like, right, okay, what do I do with that then in the real world? You know? So I've got kind of real life things that we'll play about with. I was just going to go and get a coffee. But yeah, you've got me now. You've got me interested now. So let's have a look. Should we put one inside the header? Do you think the flex full layout?
Even in the nav, no?
We'll do it in the nav, even better. Remember, kind of multiple classes as well, can't we? So we've got the item class, which is given it the general look and size. But now we could have another class in there called navigation. Nothing's happened because we haven't written that class yet. In fact, let's just go right up to the top. Navigation. Navigation. Display. Flex. Now inside here, where is it? Navigation. We'll probably get rid of nav, and we'll put in, say, home. And we're going to have to make the font size a lot smaller, aren't we? Home, contact, and about. Yeah. That's nice, isn't it? It's resizing it for us. This navigation, I think we can change the font size in here, and that will overwrite it will as well. Make it a wee bit bigger than that, 3rem. So you can see that's overwritten the font size because it's more specific. Okay, this navigation is inside this HTML file. It has a greater specificity. And it's put these three together. So if we change the flex direction to column, it's not worked. Why is it not worked? Because that's there, yeah, did.
Yeah, you didn't divide the various flexes. You just put them all in one.
I did, yeah, I did. So I put oh, for God's sake, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's treating it as one sentence. Clever. So what will we need in here? Will we need multiple divs or just put paragraphs in?
You'd probably use A-refs, wouldn't you?
You would, yeah. You would. So we could just use the hrefs in here. And then we would have, say, like home. And then we need another one. And that's going to be about...
Sorry, I'm honestly so sorry about this now. But I wanted to ask you, is there a chance to link, like, not a different page, but a part of the page you already did?
With a link? Yeah, that's full enough because we actually covered that in the last section. Yes, there is. And that's when you use IDs. That's good. That's good you're asking that. So I'll show you that when it'll load up the next section. But that's the difference.
Honestly, like, if it is in the last session, like as soon as they put it on the video, I'll just give a look at it.
It's in it'll be in the next section. I can show you. It's really, really simple. But that's when we use IDs as opposed to using classes. Because remember, each element can only have one ID. So that's its identifier. So we can literally navigate to that on the page. So yeah, that's a very common thing to have that in a one-page website.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Look what's happened here. It's putting it all, it's all squishing it up into one thing. So navigation, so we probably want that gap in there. 1 EM, I think that might be too big. Wow, that's nice. Look at that. Look at it, it's just completely sort of resized everything to make this look. We didn't even have to do anything, and this has got a...
Let's start looking at web page now.
Yeah. And that's, we've got our FlexBox, and then inside it we've got our FlexBox that's taking care of this. Flex direction. So it's in column. There we go. It's sort of simple as that, but you can see as well the sort of power of that is we could change this based on the size of the screen. So this is fine for this nice big screen, but when we resize it, we'd want them to go to columns. In fact, no, that's the opposite. This is fine for this kind of size of screen. But when we go to mobile, we'd want it like that. And look how intelligent that is. That's a FlexBox inside a FlexBox, and it's just taking care of the position of both of them. You know, we didn't really have to do much, and there's not a huge amount of code here.
And you said now that if you're on a mobile, to put it in a row, and if you're in a string, to put it in a column. But to make it like responsive, we do that with with the basis.
Yeah, I mean,
not with the basis. Sorry, with the break. With the wrap.
Flex wrap, yeah. So we've no look. That's not there actually. That's interesting. The only thing is with navigation, when you bring in flex wrap, it can start looking a bit kind of, yeah, see, that's what will happen. And that's not so good, you know. That's why when it comes to navigation, I generally don't do that because you want it to sort of one of each, one of that either. Are you all right, Gareth? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just messing around here.
Right. Right. You just can't see it, but Gareth's sitting there looking at something. I don't know, is he trying to make me look more interesting?
Squirrels.
What is it?
Squirrels.
Honestly?
Yeah, in my garden.
Oh, right. Right. Teach their own. So yeah, that's. I mean, we'll have a wee look at that in detail, you know, on an actual web page. How are we doing for time? Excellent. We're halfway through now. Can I go and get a coffee? I'll be back in a wee minute. Okay, guys. Sorry about that. Oh. So we've only got 6 people in this. Have we? 6 people in here. Oh no, we've got more. Right,
7, I think, is it? Oh, sorry, you're right. Yeah. No, 7.
7. That's not. Manuel's outside as well. Cool. Nice.
With that amazing shirt.
That is the shirt. That's going to keep me awake at night. That is quite the shirt. You Italian, Manuel?
I am, yes.
Yeah, that's why you can get away with that. Let's be honest. I try and wear that, and it's an embarrassment.
Hmm.
So there's actually another guy. There's another guy in the class, but he's not been in the sessions yet. He just contacted me, and I was like, right. He's like, okay, I'll be there at some point. I'm like, okay. There should be. I think there should be at least 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 7. 7's fine. Right. So you probably notice that I'm not really using the slides tonight. Let's see it. I think with this one, because it is so important, we're just going to have to go rogue. Let's get rid of this item thing here. Get everything back to red. So we've got a couple of options here. We can keep going with FlexBox just now. And I can go into a live site and we can kind of play around with FlexBox there. Or we can go into Grid first. I'm wondering what would be best. I'm happy for some advice here.
I have an idea, but I don't mind if we do it now or later or whenever.
Right.
If we all got a live site up, then it could actually be just a blank page with a header that just says, "This is my blank page."
Mm-hmm.
At least if we all had an index sheet and it was live, we can copy and paste whatever code we want in later.
Yeah.
At least if we all had something blank up, it would, at least you'd know we have something up, even if it's just blank white page.
Yeah, that's it. And then anytime you pushed, I mean, I'd like us to at least maybe get that up and running before the end of the session. Don't have something online, you know, that would be great. Because anytime you push to that GitHub repository, it will just display the changes. It'll just recompile the page. And that's absolutely fantastic. It's all free. Absolutely amazing. You know what I mean? Because like you guys are saying, you're like, oh, well, how much do I have to pay for hosting it? It's free. In fact, see the kind of stuff that we're doing. We usually don't have to start paying for hosting until we start making loads of money. You know? So
How's it done that thing?
it's, yeah, so I'll show you. You can now see my thing here. I use something called Netlify. That, again, you heard of this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is amazing. Right, so let's log in. You're just going to do the exact same. You just log in and then you log in with your GitHub. Okay. That's very important. You log in with your GitHub account. And no, I don't want the pro trial. See a little bit of new layout. Very nice. See, it's absolutely lovely. Add new site. Import an existing project from GitHub. Just got to authorize it. It's going to list everything I've got in my GitHub. There's a few bits here. Some of it's private, obviously. But you guys, I don't think you'll have as much as this. But I can just pick a repository here. So we've got this one. God, where is it? God, there really is quite a lot here. Unit 7 Flex Grid. I think this is what we're doing just now. And deploy site. And it's going to pull in the code from GitHub. It's going to compile a site and put it online for us. We can attach our own domain here as well. All automated.
You have to pay for this, or?
No, you'll have to pay for this when you're raking in millions. This is part of this new kind of way of doing things now. So this is actually called serverless computing. Because you think, what have I really done there? I just went next, next, next. Yeah, I didn't have to go in and start messing about in the command line or anything like that. And what's so cool about it is like normally when you make a server, right, it just sits there running until somebody accesses it and then it delivers the page. This is running on a computer with like a million other sites. And what it does is if it's no one's accessing your site, it just sleeps. As soon as someone accesses it, it deploys all those resources to your site. So there it is. It's on. That's it online now. That was really easy, wasn't it? Now, what happens when... Let's see. Yeah, we've made some changes, haven't we? So we've got a little menu here. Now, Control-Shift-P brings up... No, sorry, Control-P brings up... I think they call this the command palette inside VS Code. And if I say... In fact, I don't even have to do that, sorry. Because I've already committed it to GitHub. See it here? You see that little funny looking thing there with the branches? That's your source control. It's telling me what I've changed. These two files. I can just say, I need some kind of message, some kind of git commit message. Oh, come on. Added FlexBox. We'll say FlexBox examples. Okay. Commit. That's storing those changes in a Git repository in my local machine. As soon as I hit sync changes, it's going to push that up to GitHub. There it is. That's it up there. And this is our, let's see, site's being deployed. I don't know if this will work right away. It might need to take a little bit of time. Yeah, there's your live site. You see that? That's on the that was how quick that was. Yeah, and you're going to mess about with things like WordPress. This is where you guys are really going to have the edge. But other people are messing about with nonsense like WordPress, which I do for a living, or that kind of stuff. Slow as a week in prison. This stuff is accessed like that. That is, I mean, that is impressive, isn't it? Completely free. So when Manuel's accessing this site, he's accessing it from a computer that is in Italy. When Gareth accesses it, it's, well, most European computers are inside Ireland now anyway. But they've got this thing, it's a content delivery network around the globe. So this is actually not deployed to just one computer, but a network of computers around the globe. So when you access it, you're getting it incredibly quickly from a computer that's in your country. So guys, ideally, that's what I'd like us to get up to. We've all, like Gareth said, it doesn't matter what we've got online, but as long as we've got a starting point.
Just another question. If, like my dad has a business and I want to make his, like make a website for him.
Yeah.
It's an e-com kind of thing, like it's into auto parts, spare parts.
All right.
So if I make a website, then I have to buy a host, or is it okay if I just do it like that? Because then I have to add some payment options as well. But is it safe?
Just use that. Just use that.
Perfect.
Yeah. Easy peasy. So have you guys ever heard of this term Jamstack?
No.
No. So this is the sort of, this is the new thing. This is what I'm supposed to classify myself as. Jamstack is, it's basically a philosophy where you're basically plugging things in. So that is our front end, okay? That we just deployed in Netlify completely for free. What else we could do? We could go and use something like Shopify. I don't know why Shopify is doing that, but if we went to say Shopify.com, we can just build our own shop. Okay, we don't have to build the front end. We don't have to build the front end. We can deploy that on Netlify, and then we can just use JavaScript to grab the items in from Shopify. So it's this completely deployed system rather than having what's called a monolithic system like WordPress, where you're deploying it on one server. It's slow. You've got to worry about all that kind of thing. You're using all these different services and you're plugging them together. So everybody's doing what they're good at. Everything's running incredibly fast. And this is, by the end of this course, I'd imagine this is how we're going to be doing it anyway, where you might have a database stored on one service, okay? You'll have another service running your Python code, and then you'll have another service, probably Netlify, that's pulling that data in and displaying it and interacting with the user. So it's literally an interconnected network. It runs amazingly well. It's incredibly fast. But that's a wee bit off. But I would have a little look at Netlify and connect it to your GitHub and get started. I'm happy to go over that again, but you've seen how easy that was.
And for the, well, if you want to set up a custom domain, you have to pay for it though.
Yeah, let's say €18. I mean, I'll show you where I get mine. Did you get yours, Mikhail, from the same place? Was it Gandhi?
Yes, I got it. I paid €18.
So Gandhi.net, that's where I go for mine. It's a French company. And they used to, yeah, so basically it used to say Gandhi.net, no bullshit. You know, typical French, you know, it was just like absolutely no crap. I can show you how to do this. I can make your video, or we can have a call, whatever. I can do it now. It's very, very easy to register your own domain. I'm just going to log in here. And domain. The reason I use these guys is because you get free email. Whereas if you used Google, you'd have to pay like an extra like €5 a month for the email. Whereas this is, look.
How can you use that email? You need some client for the email?
Yeah, so you'd link it up using like your phone, basically. But here we go. So let's see, like Tom Sweeney. Let's see what they've got. TomSweeney.org's there, but that's really kind of old. EU, IO. IO is quite nice. TomSweeney.me. Page. Website, tech, TV. You guys, I'd imagine, are going to want something like dev. Look at that. First year is only 14.46, which is what, €15, basically, the way the exchange rate is. Add to shopping cart. You're good to go.
And how you set it up?
Well, I'd like everybody, if everybody wants to do this, I'd like everybody to buy one, and then we'll sit and go through it. I know you've got one, Mikhail, but I'd like everybody to get it if they can be bothered, basically. I do think it's good to have it like an ID on the web as soon as possible for all of us. So are you going to say something, Kelvin?
Would you like us to do it now?
If you want me to talk you through it, but it's obviously this is going to take a bit of extra time. So I mean, we can have another meeting or whatever, or I can just make a video on it. It's nice and easy, and we can.
I just managed to post up a page, just through GitHub now.
Yeah.
So the page I did on my own desktop environment was just an outer container and 3 inner containers in a FlexBox.
Nice.
So super basic, no formatting.
Yeah.
But when I look at it through GitHub, it hasn't pulled in any of my CSS, and I'm wondering, have I got? I mean, I assumed it would honor the same. Do I have to clone it back to my computer or something like that? Or
no. So it should. Did you do it like this? So I'm just going to make a wee. Let's just make a change here. Change, just so I've got some kind of change here. So my keyboard's not working right. That's really bad. Why is that not working? Right. It's not giving me a star. Okay, I'll just delete this. So did you do it like this? Like you went into your source control inside your VS Code? And is that how you did
No.
it, Gary?
No, no, I saved my index file and my style file, then went to GitHub, created a new repository, dragged the files in, hit commit. Then I went to the pages and I deployed them live. And then when I
Okay.
saw the page, it just, the CSS didn't work. The contents of the HTML file are visible, but not
Yeah.
the styling.
So, so have you got a layout like this where you've got CSS folder and then inside it you've got some kind of CSS file?
Correct, correct.
So basically you just dragging it in, it's not created that folder.
No, it has. I see an index file, a README file, and a CSS folder. And hang on, if I go into the CSS folder, there is a style file inside it.
Oh, that's
On the-
interesting. Okay, and inside your index.html, there is link relation style sheet, CSS style,
Correct.
something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
maybe that, does that link work the same way on GitHub as it does on your
It does,
desktop?
yeah, exact same way, yeah. So if I deployed
try
that,
it.
because you can see that, that's me just deploying. You know, that was me just deploying that to Netlify. It worked perfectly. That's it online.
All right. So maybe it's browser. Would it be browser sensitive?
No. Oh God, no. No. Send me the link to the.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, just paste that into the chat and I'll have a look. Okay, so that's.
But maybe
Sorry.
if you can do that video on how to post a new HTML and to upload it on the GitHub, because I still don't.
Still
know how
not.
to
Is
do
it
that.
still not working? Right. Yeah. I've got a few videos I've got to make over the weekend. I think that's probably the first one. You know, try and get GitHub working because we're going to have to. This is one of the fundamental skills that a developer's got now. You know, we want to get that GitHub looking nice as well, because employers look at it and they look at your code. It's horrible. You know what I mean? That's why I've got to go through hiding old things in case they find stuff from like 12 years ago. You know, do you know what else they do? There's this thing, like, see if you go to GitHub. This is madness. But it'll give you the, where is it? So there should be, let's go right down. Sometimes if we go into your profile, it will show you how active you've been. Like, see it. That's the days. Look, those ones that are really green are the ones that have made like 6 contributions. That's 8 contributions. So people are becoming obsessed with this to try and get this all green every day. Absolute nonsense. But this is the kind of thing we've got to think about now. So employers are going to look at this. So the sooner we get this running, the more active we are, the more they're going to like you. It just gives you that little edge, along with your domain name. So if you at least have a look for a domain name over the weekend, have a think about the kind of, like, let's say I'm just going to go for tomsweeney.dev. I'm going to buy one as well, might as well. Why not? And then I can sort of talk you guys through it once you get yours. They're cheap.
Thomas, I just shared you something in the chat.
Okay, it's a chat. Let's see.
Screenshot of the website.
So this is yours. Is yours live?
It's live, but it's not showing anything.
Where's the chat? Oh God, yeah, chat there. 404, right. I can tell you exactly what that is. So, do we know what 404 means? Right, so that's a request code, a return code actually. So, normally when a site is found, it returns 200. Oh, come on, why is this not going? But if it can't find something, the server returns 404. It can't find the index.html.
Oh, Oh, so the server cannot find the files?
That's exactly what it is. So it's tried deploying it, but remember we need this entry point, which is always index.html.
Probably your main page is not called index.html.
It has to be. Otherwise, it'll just ignore it. Your main page is. You always need an entry point, and that's be the same for an app, and that'll be the same for any site or any server we make. We use it. It's always going to look for index.html. So
The HTML always has to be indexed.
Like in.html, that's it.
that's it.
cannot
Just
put
index.html. Yeah, that's all you've got to do. Is just got to name your first file. It'd be the same. It doesn't matter. Let's say anything that's on the internet. That's pretty much how it's going to have to be done. You see, I've got other things here, but that's fine as long as we've got this entry point, and that's it. But that's why, because it's looking for index.html. It can't find it, so it's got no option but to bring up a 404. Okay. So you've got.
I was there.
Let's see, we've got Thursday, Tuesday. See, by Tuesday the 20th, I want us to be online. Every single one of us. Okay, I don't know how we're going to do that. I'll help you in any way I can. But I want us all, even if it's, as Gary said, a blank page, but something online.
My page is a bit more blank than I'd like at the moment.
Is it like really blank?
I actually sent a link to the page and to the GitHub repository, and you'll see how blank it is.
See, my cows is looking. Look at that.
Yeah, it looks sharp.
That looks really nice.
But it's not responsive.
Yeah, right.
And
I hate that. That's like better than mine.
No, I'm gonna change it a lot.
Right.
But one picture is
So
not open.
nice.
I don't know why.
That's nice as well, isn't it? Look at the hover. There's always one show off, isn't there? This is, oh yeah, that's nice. This is exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about, guys. Apart from this awful email, Mikhail. This is where we can change that, but you've now got access to those. Again, I can show you this. You know what I mean? I don't know if this is something we've got to do like after class or whatever, but me at, you know, whatever your domain is or whatever, you can make up just your own email addresses now, which is quite tasty.
Sounds good.
Yeah, LinkedIn, that's great. Over to Instagram. Yeah, it's coming up lovely. That's what I mean. It's just a little home with links in it. Where'd it go? Oh, for God's sake. Anyway, we'll have a play with that soon. Right, oh God. Time really does fly here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's really.
If something is interesting, it's always like that.
It's like there's just not enough time. Right. Well, we're going to talk about grid, won't we? We're going to talk about grid. That's right, Tommy. Let's go into this grid. Flex full layout, grid container. Right, this is this section here. Okay, so with a look at FlexBox, and to me, one of the nice characteristics about FlexBox is you can just throw a bunch of randomly sized stuff at it. Okay, and it's going to try and figure it out. I mean, that's really nice. You can imagine if that was images or whatever. Works a treat. Grid is when you want maybe. Grid basically is when you want a bit of order in this. You know what I mean? So you can imagine going to actually the Instagram, you know, and having their feed, that would be like a grid. This is the exact same thing again. We've got this grid container and border. I'll just put a border in this again. 8 pixels, solid, black. There we go. Exact same. It's just a div. And inside that div, we've got other divs all stacked on top of one another. Because by default it's display block. That's always the default. So just like we did with FlexBox, we'll say display grid. There we go. Job's done. See that? Absolutely nothing happens. Well, visibly anyway. Let's put a gap in there. 1 EM. How many pixels is that?
16.
16.
Excellent. You can see we've got a gap. But now, where we can't really do this with FlexBox, we can start being very explicit about how many columns we want here. So I'm going to say grid template columns. At the moment, I think it's set to auto, right? That's the default, and you can see what's happening. It's given us one column. I can say I want 200 pixels. Yeah. Okay, it's giving me 1 or 200 pixels. Now, if I go over and say 200 pixels again, look at that. What if I said 300 pixels? $260 pixels. Okay, it's just sizing these accordingly. I'm being very explicit. So 200 pixels, 200 pixels. It's not filling out any other columns because I've told it that I only want 2 columns. Okay.
Is there a short, if you want the 10, is there a shorthand way to write it?
Yes. Very seldom, right? Very seldom are we going to be writing anything like this, you know? So, I mean, for the most part, you're never going, you know, it's like I'm always saying to you, we're never really going to be using pixels. We're going to try and avoid using it because they're static. They don't shrink, they don't grow. You know? Like if I say like 800 pixels here, you can see it's escaping at the sides, and when I try and be size, it's just an absolute mess. Thankfully, Grid has got this thing inside called fraction. So if I just say 1FR, 1FR. Okay. 1 fraction. 1FR. Okay, keep going, 1FR. And that's it intelligently resizing everything. What I could say is I want 2FR at the end here. You can see that it's done, so that's taking up the same amount of space as these first 2.
Yeah, I seen that Kevin Powell did that.
Yeah. This could come in handy. Again, I'm telling it what columns I want. And it's basically taking care of the rows for me until we've run out of data. Thankfully, we've got this thing in a little function called repeat. Two, 1. There we go. And I'm just saying I want you to repeat 1FR twice. 3 times. And you can see it's resizing here because we've resized the window. So it's taking up 1 fraction of this grid container. Ah, come on, come on, come on, come on, back there, back there. There we go. Now, what else can I?
Render? Is there any chance to put it like in the middle, or just gonna stay there?
And you do what, sorry?
The 10, the last 10 there.
Oh, you want that in the middle? Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. That's really annoying, isn't it? where is it? I tried this earlier and it wouldn't go, but you're right. There is a way, and it's grid. It should be a grid align content. Let's see, align items, and then it should be. See, that's flex again. Justify content. I can't remember which one it is. But you're right, that is very annoying. I'll have a look. I'll look it up. It's one of these sort of brain farts. It always happens when I'm live, when I'm doing this live, and then I remember it as soon as I come off.
If there's someone that suffers of OCD, he's just gonna go insane.
I know, but you don't blame them. You know what I mean? That is horrible. You'd want that aligned. You know what I mean?
It'd be worse if you had 11. It'd be worse if you had 11.
You think, and then you just have that wee space. But
because you wouldn't be happy if they were aligned either.
Well, exactly. And that's the other thing, because this is a grid. So if we wanted that kind of thing, we'd actually want to use a FlexBox where we could just expand. But remember, this is a grid. I'm sure it's like, hang on a second, I'm sure it's align items, grid, align items, center. Yeah, the two, so it should be align row axis, align self and align items, yeah. Align items, I mean, we did try that. Align items and center. Yeah, it's not working. I'll have to have a look at that. There's some of the naming conventions is quite bizarre. You know what I mean? Because you get the line items, then justify items and justify content. Okay, I'll get rid of that just now. So this is all kind of fine and dandy, but it's not really mobile responsive, as you can see. I'm making it smaller, and it's respecting these columns. Okay. This is usually not what you want. So I'm just going to override this. Now, if there's one piece of code, guys, that I want you to really get into the back of your head, it's going to be this line of code, because this will basically save your life. So we're going to use this repeat function again. Okay, but this time we're going to say, I want you to autofill the space. Okay. And then there's another function called min-max. And we're going to pass it two values. The minimum value that we want this to shrink to, which is maybe, I don't know, like 250 pixels. Okay, so that's the minimum we want it to shrink to. And then the most we want it to take up is just 1 FR. Okay. In fact, let's see, the minimum, we'll make that small, let's say 180 pixels. And then we've got that 3 again.
So, Thomas.
Yeah.
The other one is justify content center.
That's what, yeah, that's right. I was wondering if it was justify. We'll try justify content. I bet you it's this one. No. See, these usually only work with Flex.
But it works like that on MD, and I'm just checking and it works like that.
Yeah, it's so weird.
That's weird.
And look what we've got. Completely responsive grid now.
How
Obviously,
about if you put justify content and the
I
value?
put it in the grid container. But look at this. This is us get a completely responsive.
Oh, that's amazing.
Look at that. Any size. And you don't have to think about it.
And how it happened?
It's a
Show
secret.
again.
It's a secret.
You need to make some notes.
It's all right. No, this is going up. This is going up in GitHub anyway. But honest to God, guys, this is the line of code. This is the one to remember. You put this in and you're set, because you're letting the browser take care of it. For some reason, why is it doing that now?
This only works for grids, though.
Yes, it does only work for grids, and for some reason it stopped working. Of course, it's the. I've got to close that off. But that's fine. That's fine. It only working for grid. This is. You think this is? We probably wouldn't want to use FlexBox like this. I'll show you a bit. Yeah, we've got. Thank God, we've got an hour left. I'll show you the sort of actual use cases for these in a minute. Okay, when you should use one and when you should use the other. But when people think about grid, you use a grid when you want a grid, when you want everything the exact size. Okay, within reason. Yeah, so that's it. So I'm gonna let's start that again. I'll go over that again. So this is a grid template columns. Okay, we're going to use that repeat function again. Yeah, but this time we're going to use autofill. So we're letting the browser take care of this. Okay, you autofill this space. Okay, so we're not, because before when we did it, we said repeat 4 times 1FR, didn't we? That was the code we used, and that gave us this. Whereas now we're not saying how many times you should put, you should repeat the columns. We're saying you decide. You just fill that space up. Then we're using another function called min-max that returns one of 2 values basically. So the minimum value we want is, say in this case, 200 pixels. Okay, that's the minimum that each of these items should get to, 200 pixels, and then the maximum should be 1FR, 1 fraction, and that gives us this responsive layout. Perfectly responsive, no media queries or anything. 160, 320, we just change the minimum and it takes care of the rest. And this will completely depend on your content. Yeah, look at that, it's just resizing.
Based on what?
Sorry?
The fraction is based on what?
It's 1 fraction. So it's basically one, that is what's given us, let's see.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, like, a fraction of what?
A fraction of the grid container. 1 fraction of this box. That means when we go down to there we go, it's 1 fraction. It's allowing us to shrink down to that size. That's the maximum size it could be. See that? So once it gets to 180 pixels, it's basically creating a new line. That's pretty tasty. It's really tasty when you had to sit and do, things like this years ago, because you just really couldn't do it. Never mind with like 1 line of code.
Yeah, people used to use float that time, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's awful. It was absolutely horrendous. That's what
I
I'm saying.
remember I was trying very hard to make a responsive website using float, and everything was going different directions.
Yeah, and it wasn't responsive either. So
Yeah.
if you remember, if you access something like Facebook, it would actually be m.facebook.com for the mobile site. So they had to recreate the website purely for mobile. Whereas now
Yeah. It used to be like this, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas now it's just look, it's getting to the point where we can just say to the browser, look, just you make intelligent decisions about what you're displaying. This is a guide of how I kind of want it to look.
I seem to recall some websites even have a responsive button to turn it on and off.
Did it?
I don't know why. I don't know if it was to do with the internet being a bit slower.
No, because
I
it
can't think of
probably
it.
looked like garbage. That's the other thing. So it's amazing how new this stuff is. I mean, this stuff's still kind of new. But I think you're very lucky to be getting into this now, because you're actually avoiding a lot of the garbage. You know, a lot of the hacks. Whereas now this is actually built, you know, for designers.
I did
Before,
say something scary earlier about AI creating websites by just a simple prompt. And I was like, oh God, I hope that doesn't put us out of job.
so this is right. This is always the great fear, isn't it? That we're going to have AI is going to just do it. We're going to just say, right, Mr. Computer, make me a website. But you think about it, we've already got stuff like that now. You've got WordPress themes. You've got, what's that? Like Wix. So, have you tried Wix? Anyways?
No.
Yeah, it's you just go on and you say, right, make me a website. And it was doing that years ago. Now, what happens is, with these kind of things, is they take the bottom 10% of the people working in the industry. They take the bottom feeders, and they've got to go and do something else. Okay? You guys won't need to do that because you're training to be the top 10%. You know what I mean? You're making everything from scratch. What it means is the people that haven't got much money, they'll probably just go and do stuff in Wix and whatever. We're not interested in them. We're interested in the people that have got the 5, 10, 15, 50 grand. Can I bet, you know, it's just what we do is just going to go up and up and up. You know, we become more specialist, really. So don't worry, it's all this AI nonsense. It keeps happening. It's been happening for years. I made that mistake back in 2009. I got out of the game completely, and that's when I started teaching at uni. I thought, oh, this is all dead. Yeah, it's not dead. It's bigger than it ever was, especially in Ireland. You're laughing if you're in Ireland, I'm telling you. I mean, think about moving over there. And then I seen the house prices in Dublin. Mother of God, that was a shock.
Yeah.
Get rid of that. So I think we'll have a look at some of the, because now, I mean, this is all just basically, you know, illustrations, if you like. So let's have a look at, where is it? Open recent. Where is it? Unit 6. So this is the thing that I was working on Tuesday. Okay, that's about where we were. Now what I've done is I've added loads of images. Also added these kind of little card things, which are basically just big images with some text below them. And we've got a wee gallery down there at the bottom. So, let's see. What should we tackle first? Should we go up here? Okay, this is our navigation. And I've imported this. This is a typical pattern that you'd see, isn't it? You'd see your logo, and then beside it, you'd see your navigation. And of course, because these are block level elements, there's one appearing on top of the other. So we've got this here. And by the way, Manuel, did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you do it. It's basically just IDs.
I was looking at the code there for the A over.
Excellent, yeah. So let's say this is online, so I can share it with you, but that's really, really easy. But generally, we'd want these in the same line. We'd want this in the left, usually in a hard left. This would be your logo. And then this, we'd probably want that over to the right somewhere. Let me just have a look at the index.html file. Remember, we made this on Tuesday. So we've got our nav. And then we've got this nav container inside. And then we've got the logo, which is, of course, an href. Just with an image inside it. And then we've got our unordered list with these list items in it. So, grid. Should we use a grid to position this stuff? So what I want is I want all of this in one line. So I want this, and then I want this beside it. Okay, this unordered list I want next to this logo in the same line. What do you think, grid or FlexBox?
Like it's the same thing, no?
So you can recreate a lot of this. Sorry, Gareth.
I was going to say it depends on how you want it to look when you narrow the page up.
Yeah, that's
To an extent.
interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Because if you have them all in the one object, do you want home to be beside the image and then intro, about, and contact under it? Or do you want the image always to stay on the top and the whole menu to move under and then to the side?
Yeah.
You know?
So this is interesting. I'm glad you're thinking like that, because you're thinking about it resizing. You know, I mean, you're thinking about being how it's going to be responsive. In general, FlexBox is good at handling things of just arbitrary sizes. Okay, remember grid. When you use grid, it's going to be. You can imagine when we go down here to this gallery, grid's going to work great for that. You know what I mean? Because it's all want everything the same size, laid out in 2 dimensions. Generally for this, I would use a FlexBox. 1 dimensional, left to right. Okay. You could, and this is the thing as well, it's like you can sort of mix it up. As you've seen, we were practically making grids with FlexBox, but for this, in general, I would use a FlexBox. I think, where are we going to put it? Display, Flex. That's interesting. Not there at all, is it? We've got this nav container. Okay. By default, it's shifted it over beside it.
Would you put borders around the links and the image?
Do you want to do that?
Temporarily.
Certainly.
Just temporarily. Yeah.
How would one do such a thing, Gareth, I wonder?
Me.
Right, so we're going to go for the nav container, aren't we? And then everything inside that, everything, the wildcard, right? And then we're going to put, I think, a white border in that. 4 pixels, solid, white. There we go. What happens when we go? See it? See the difference? Just a direct child. Every single descendant now has got it. Okay, so we've got. This is our flex box, right? This is a flex container now. And there's 2 things in it. There's actually only 2 things. This link here. And this, what is it, an unordered list?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's only 2 things in it. So, first thing is, let's get rid of this. Align items. Align items, we can do it on FlexBox. And that's going to bring it in. See that? It's now got everything in the one line. Then we can use justify content. Space between. So between the items, and that's going to push that over to the other side. Okay, let's get rid of this for now. This is pretty much what we'd expect, I think, apart from there not being any. Look at that. Oops. That's a good. There we go. It's just clinging to the side. The reason is we're using. Sorry?
How can you change it to hamburger when it's responsive?
How can we change it to what? Sorry?
To hamburger.
Hamburger menu.
Oh, right. That is mostly going to be done. You can do it purely in CSS and HTML, but it's ugly. So we're going to need a little bit of JavaScript in there.
Okay, but that's part of responsiveness, no?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, technically, it's a hack, but it's still kind of.
And you're gonna use the media query for that?
Yeah, you'd use a media query for that. Yeah, exactly. Which considering the time, we're going to go over Media Crazy next time. But like I says, I really wanted to try and go into depth into this rather than just because the actual, if you look at the slides, they're throwing everything at you, which is absolute insanity.
Yeah.
Right, so we've got our navigation. And that was done literally just display flex, just with these 3 lines. Display flex, align items, center, which aligned them in the main axis, which is horizontal this time. Justify content space between. So basically push everything. Put the space, any extra space between those 2 items. Any questions, comments, niggles?
Where does it go if you narrow the page up? Sorry, I stepped away for a second there. I don't know if you did it already. If you narrow that page really tight.
There we go. So it's not going to be quite as nice as we would have liked at this time, because we're going to use a, look, okay, that's no ideal, is it? Should we use, what was that other thing that would, oh, flip's sake, flex wrap? Yeah, because currently it's at no wrap. So what happens when we go wrap?
Was it? No, it was.
This is really annoying doing this. Maybe a better way, and then it's going to give us. Okay, it's going to do that. Why is it doing that though? That's weird. It's because there's only 2 items.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it?
But it's better than if the contact came down on its own. That would look weirder.
That, yeah, and you will see websites like that. Next time, let's say we're going to expand on this. We'll sort of cover I can't remember, is it tables, I think, but we're going to spend a lot more time doing this kind of stuff, because this is the stuff that's, nobody's going to hire you for doing tables. I'll tell you that right now. Tables you'll use, I think the last time I used tables was 2008. But you will get hired for this. So it's very important that you know this. I'd rather spend a lot more time. But yeah, I think that's acceptable. That's acceptable. But realistically, sorry?
I was asking the justify content space between.
Yeah.
Like, why did it move only the links?
Ah, excellent. Excellent. Because the links are actually embedded inside this nav. See this UL?
Mm-hmm.
So that is an object, and that is an object inside this nav container. Let's have a look.
So if you didn't put it in the unordered list, it would have spaced each one of them.
So this is what we could do, couldn't we? We could. Let's just get a hold of this unordered list and put another flex in there, maybe. It's not done anything. So let's go for flex wrap, and then put a wrap in there.
I don't think you. I think you. Are you meant to have a? Is that meant to be a class? Is that a class?
No, we don't.
Oh, it's all on order list.
Yeah, it's just going to do all of them. We've only got one in, but yeah, I would definitely put that in a class. What's going to happen now? Nothing, because that's not small enough for it to start. However, I wonder if, where is it? Where's this other one? Let's get rid of the flex wrap on this nav container and then resize this. Yeah, you can see what's happening there. It's ugly.
No, but I meant the space between. Like they only, they moved only the home intro, about, and contact.
Yeah, this is. I'll do
Just
space
as a block.
between.
I meant as a block. If you didn't have the unordered list, it would have spaced each one of them.
Yeah. The reason it's treated this as a block is because it is a block. Let's just get rid of this unordered list. The only thing is inside here. So here we've got this nav container, and that's the block. That's the flex container. So this is what we've applied flex to. Inside here, we've only got two things. We've got this ahref, and inside that, we've got this image. But then we've got this unordered list, so it's getting treated as one block. It can only work with the things that's inside it, directly inside it. What we could do is, shall we get rid of this nav container? I think we'll get rid of this nav container. Let's put in, okay. Yeah. We'll put this directly in the nav, I think. Oops. Yeah, we'll take this out. We'll get rid of this container. This is more aligned, I think, with what you're thinking. It's still only doing it because it's not going small enough. That's quite annoying. Line item center, yep, that's all working fine. Margin 0. But now, these are all individual items inside the FlexBox. These links. Okay, which I think is what you would expect. You can see we've lost quite a lot of the styling on this as well. Just bring that back. But at the moment, there's just two items inside that FlexBox. Okay, that's why. That's just treated as one block. Does that seem reasonable, Kelvin? No?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Yeah. that isn't the look of a man that looks confident. That's fine. That's fine. Inside here, this is what we're getting nested within nested. We've got things within things within things within things now. We've got the body, and inside the body, we've got this large navigation bar. See it? This is that. And then this nav container that's got these two things inside it. And then inside there, we've got this box, and then the nav. Is everybody kind of getting that? That why that's, yeah. Right, where are we? Logo. Shall I get rid of this white? I think that looks reasonable. To do with some more spacing in there, maybe. But shall we have a look at this gallery? Next. Let's scroll down. There we go, gallery grid. First thing, of course, is to do a display grid. So this is a two-dimensional thing. Okay, so I want it left, right, up and down. That's generally I'm going to use a grid. And I want everything kind of evenly spaced. When I'm not too worried about sizing, such as here, we've got things of sort of random sizes, I'm going to use FlexBox. I'll show you another use case for it as well. But it's really good. We just throw lots of data at it. You don't know what it is. It kind of sorts it out. But I want order here. Let's bring in the gap again. Sort of standard 16 pixels. You can see. This gave us this. What was it? Grids, template columns, one FR, and that's going to give us that. Just two columns. With that annoying bit. Now, interestingly enough, you can actually center that in grid. You can center it, and Flex have it between the two. Because like I say, it doesn't care. It's just this container that's just trying to fit things in. But this will always be in the left. Right, repeat. 2. Repeat twice, 1 fraction. And what's the fraction doing? Just a fraction of this container. Okay? That's all it means. 1 fraction. So repeat that twice. Just you take up the space. You do the calculations. Now what happens when we do this bit of magic code again? Remember this autofill thing, or autofit. Min max. 280 pixels we'll say. So this is the minimum, and the maximum is 1 FR. Go. Look, it's just sorting it out itself. Maybe size it down. Perfect. Make it bigger. It's taking care of this. And that looks like, I think that looks pretty good. One thing that's really getting to me though is there's no, if we go to the body, you'll notice it's coming right up against the edge. See this? Everything's coming right up against the edge. Just put a margin in there of 1 EM. That's going to bring everything in a little bit. It looks a bit better. But it's also, so of course it's pushed that down to the top, isn't it? Top 0. There we go. That'll do. That doesn't look right, but it's just to kind of, just to see what we're doing. Okay, so that's generally how I would use that. You've got a nice wee grid there. Obviously you've got this little orphan at the bottom, but I think that looks pretty good. If you guys submitted something like this, I would give you a distinction. Any questions on this? So we've got this, we've got these things here, but you've probably seen, see if we go to Edge, I'll have a look at Microsoft Edge. It's got, where is it? Go to the home page on this. It's got like a news thing. There we go. This is grid. But we've got this big one here, and then we've got these sort of smaller ones. Okay, so if we pick one of these,
That's 2F4, isn't it?
Sorry?
That would be 2F4 then, wouldn't it? The first one would be 2F4.
So we can't use FR on the actual grid items themselves. We can only use it on the grid. Okay, this is when we're defining our grid. We can say FR, because it needs to calculate this out. But we can say, let's see, I think I called it, in fact, I'll just check, guys. Snip down here. Gallery grid, and I think there's one called, there should be one here with a class. Yeah, featured image. Okay, so I've just called one featured image. Just going to look for that. And there we go, there. We're going to tell this one individual picture here that it can span 2 columns and 2 rows. So span 2. Okay. And I doubt that's done anything. In fact, it has. There's less of this horrible space here. grid column span to. Look at that. See that? That's how you would get that look. Yeah, it looks pretty tasty. Also, you can see the way I've done this. I've actually given this its own individual class, featured image. So we can apply that to multiple images if we want. Or we can just move it about. Let's put it on the first one. Yeah, that looks quite nice. Might have it in the last one as well. Down at the bottom. Obviously I've got that ugly space there, but it's probably, I don't think there's anything we could do about that because there's just nothing there that could fill that up. Part of the reason I would do this as well is that when you're designing a back end to your system, and it maybe, and I don't know what you guys are eventually going to create, but maybe if you did have, I don't know, a social network or whatever, you just click featured image on one of these images and it adds this class in the front end. And that's how simple it is, basically. Let's get rid of that. Okay. What else have we got here? These cards here. Look, these wee kind of news cards things. What should we use for that? I'm worried that everybody's getting really bored now because I feel like I'm talking to myself again.
Not a float.
Sorry.
I was going to say not a float.
Yeah, not a float, exactly. Definitely not a float. This is one of the reasons I'm actually skipping the presentation tonight, because there's actually questions like that. You know, will we use a float to do this? And it's like, no, of course you won't. You're going to use... I'd use a grid again.
What, with just one object?
Well, we've actually, believe it or not, these are all... So these are just divs. I'd call them cards. They're all just stacked on top of each other. Okay.
So would you put the text in a flex object and or a grid object? Do you ever do that? And so that at least the text and the image can sit beside each other, but they're not obviously in grid objects.
You could do that, yeah. That's what I'd probably use a FlexBox for as well. You know, but these, I don't want these full size. You know, I'd like them in to kind of look a bit like this here. You know, again, this is us, you know, you think about like, I'll just show you again. You know, this kind of thing. And obviously I've not went as in depth as they have, but this is how you would get this kind of thing. Right, shall we get a wee try? What is this called again? It's a news card. Section ID cards, class grid container. Yeah. First thing we're going to do is display grid, which will give us absolutely nothing. Okay. Put that. Put a gap in. Gap. Let's say I'll just say 1 EM again. Standard 16 pixels. That's giving us a wee spaces there. And now we can see the drop shadows as well. Grid. What is it? Grid template columns. And 1FR. 1FR. So I mean, you've got this sort of card look. Repeat twice, no, 3 times 1 FR. And that'll give us 3 columns. That's ugly. just go for 2. So we're getting there. I mean, this is almost looking kind of like a site that, I mean, there's obviously, we need to get rid of this padding. Body, let's get rid of that margin. But with the point where that kind of looks all right. We don't seem convinced.
Need a bit more padding at the bottom of that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we do, don't we? Yeah. That's really weird how that's kind of cutting off. Let's see. I'm just going to copy this across. I'm going to do exactly what I did with the gallery. I'm going to use this auto fit again. That pretty much using everything. We'll make this one 200 pixels. No, I am 220 pixels. And that's going to give us this. Doesn't look too good, but again, you're just sort of playing with this. So let's bring that up to 280. There we go. I've been doing a lot of talking as usual, guys. And I'm always, at the end of this, I'm always wondering, is anybody even listening? Because let's see, I'm supposed to talk for an hour, and then you guys are supposed to practice. But the way I'm thinking about this is always, like, can you guys get back and basically look at this again?
How would that even work anyway?
Sorry?
Like, no, I mean, like, it wouldn't work the way that they think of it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
If you talk for an hour, you did 3 hours and you didn't even, and you haven't even finished.
Yeah, I don't see. You think? I mean, I've only covered 1/3 of this lesson. You know what I mean? I've only covered 1/3, and we've not even touched on half of this. You know what I mean? But this is the thing I really want you to take away. This wee line of magic code here. It'll solve all your problems. Make all your dreams come true. Whoa. I've got more I could show you, but I think that's enough for you to take in tonight. So my big question is, what's going to help you guys over the weekend? You think, what can I make that will help you? More videos, you think, covering some of this stuff again? I will need a kind of vote, because there's one that I've actually started. Sorry?
There's an awful lot in this lesson alone to take in. I think I'll be going over this one for sure.
Okay. Let's see, I've recorded tonight's session. So what I think most of it is, of some kind of value. I'll put it online on YouTube. I'll keep it hidden if he's like. Okay. It'll be a 3-hour video, obviously, and then I'll maybe put chapter markers in it. So this bit's FlexBox.
Doesn't UCD upload like the sessions you access through the professional hub? They upload those on YouTube. You have to like access it through Learn.
No, do they?
Yeah, so like, because I noticed, because like it's handy for me, because I can just listen to like the lecture on my way home, or like.
Okay. See, the reason I've done this is because they've not put up Tuesday's lecture yet, and Manuel's trying to, watch it to get kind of prepared for tonight.
Probably would be good to have it in two different places in case something happens as well.
Well,
or have access one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's an absolutely huge file. That's my only concern. It will take probably about 2 days for it to upload to YouTube. But like I'm saying, the thing that I can do that's slightly different is I can put the chapters in it. So you guys can actually. So if we say, if I go to YouTube, I think this is what this is. Yeah. If you look at like right, videos. Yeah, like this one here. Of these. God, I hate looking at myself. But I've actually put in these. See these links here? So if you just click on, see that, like links and cascade, that'll take you to that section of the video. Writing the HTML is going to bring us back to the start. Starting from scratch. Background and fonts. So you've got this long video, but you guys can just click on the links, the bits that interest you. Is that helpful, you think?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. That video was very helpful for me there doing that one-page CV.
Yeah, fantastic. That's good. I'll continue doing it then. Is there anything you want to talk about? Or is there anything you want me to show you? Do you want me to try and get your GitHubs up and running? Or is everybody sniding off again?
I wouldn't mind knowing why my site isn't coming up. Why it's not showing any of the formatting.
Right, yeah. Can you send it?
The link in the chat.
You did put the link in the chat. The minimalist.
Yeah, there's one the bottom one should be the website, and you can see there's no formatting there. There should be just black borders, and those three lines should be
yeah. So first of all, I don't know if you guys can see this, but what Gary's doing here is absolutely fantastic. I noticed this in the code he submitted to me earlier on. I should have shown you guys how to do this, but this is absolutely perfect. Look, as many notes and comments as you can put in your code, the better. You know what I mean? Just to remind you. I'm very impressed with that.
The keyboard shortcut is Control /
I can see the problem. Right. Can I zoom in here, do you think? Can I zoom? I can't zoom in. So, Windows users, of which I think everybody in here. No, Kelvin, you've got a Mac, haven't you? Kelvin, have you got a Mac?
No,
yeah.
I don't have a Mac. I have Windows.
Oh, right. So we've all got Windows. It's the Windows crowd that's in. Is it you, Arian, that's got a Mac?
Yeah, I have a Mac, yeah.
So he's winning, right? Macs, to be honest, for this kind of thing, are better. But what's happening here is Mac is a Unix operating system, right? So is Linux. These are all Unix based. Windows isn't. Windows doesn't differentiate between uppercase and lowercase, but Unix does.
Very good.
Okay, so this is why, if you look at, say, my stuff, everything's lowercase. See it?
Yeah.
So it's an absolute pain, but I should have spoke to you about this before.
No.
But you want to make sure everything's lowercase, because you're using a Windows system which couldn't care less about case, basically, whether it's uppercase or lowercase. It sees it as the same thing. You're then pushing it to a Unix server.
Sorry, I'm looking for anything that's uppercase in mine. I can't see anything apart from text that's meant to be.
Style.
USS.
Yeah, so it's actually the names of the files.
Sorry, 1 second now, I'm looking for it.
Right, so.
Yeah, see that now, yeah. Well,
yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna have a go at
That's basically, if we go to the terminal. Yeah. So, on.
Programmers get you in trouble when you're writing on Windows.
So, in fact, let me show you something. I'm starting Windows services for Linux here. Okay, so it's now possible to run Linux inside Windows, which is absolutely amazing. Okay, here we go. This is us inside Linux. Now I could create a file called index.html. Okay, why has it not done it? Why has that not done it? Right. Maybe it's because it's inside Windows, but actually, yeah. Normally you can create, if you're using a Unix-based operating system, index.html with a capital I isn't the same thing as index.html with a lowercase I. It would actually be two separate files. Windows just sees it as the exact same thing. So Tommy's top tip for tonight is when we're creating folders and files, all lowercase. Second top tip for tonight, no spaces either. Okay. So if we're creating a new file and we need a space in it, like hello there dot HTML, put in a minus or a what's that wee thing called?
Hyphen.
Is it that kind of, yeah, that there, whatever it is, the sort of lower underscore. That's what it's called. Okay, because this will save us a lot of problem down the line. Okay, when we push up to the server. So I think that's what's happened with you, Gary. Do you want to try renaming these things?
Yeah, I know. I'll have a go over the next day or two, sort that out.
Right. Okay. Anything else,
Thank
guys?
you.
You just wanted to chat about? I'm happy to stay late if you need stuff done, like you, George. If you want me to stop. You want me to sort this out? Sorry?
Tommy, you know, in that assignment you gave us like last week, the gym membership one, I think.
Yeah.
Was that a grid style you used to make the gym membership? There is, it's a couple packages.
Yeah. So this was this thing here.
No, yeah,
That, yeah. Was it what? Sorry.
Would that have been like a grid style or?
Yes. No. Well, that's a really good question. To get it looking like this, we could just use FlexBox because it's all along one line. However, I think you're right. It would be better in a grid and having that 4, 4, and then 1. Yeah. So that would probably be a grid, I think.
Okay.
How
I
did
mean, we would have to, does that mean if you use that as a grid, would you have to use that as column?
the what? Sorry.
We made it as a grid. Would we have to put it as columns? I think it was, what was the code for it?
Display.
To change.
Okay. Now, I think I've already got this actually. I know, obviously, Mikhail did it perfectly. Yeah, he did it. I can't hear you, Mikhail.
Oh, sorry, I did it on FlexBox.
Yeah, he did it in FlexBox. So there's actually a, to be honest, he did it because I was going to do it myself, and I didn't finish it. And then I seen Mikhail's, and I was like, well, that's perfect. So he's actually got the model answer. Can you share that with everybody? Because it's honestly, it's absolutely perfect.
1 second.
He even did this as well. I wasn't even expecting them to do that, even though those in. He used FlexBox for that.
Random question about styling, Thomas. The other day you said someone did well including more than one like shadow.
Yes.
So what's the advantage of that? And I noticed like in some people's codes they use multiple linear gradients as well.
Yes. So we've got them here. Now, interestingly enough, Gareth used multiple drop shadows on his Mad Robot site, which was interesting. How did you find out about that, Gareth? You just kind of messing about?
Yeah, I think so. I had a few. You on the first course, on the first lesson, you gave us a link to some Zenva courses.
Right. Yeah.
And I downloaded one really, really basic one. It was like a 1-hour HTML course and a 1-hour CSS course, and I just kind of made a mental note when he did some shadows.
Okay. So there is some.
Sorry, what does it actually do though? Like as opposed, because like I thought like if you just had one block shadow, like that would be it. But is it kind of like to add layers or like to the shadows or?
Yeah. So
like it's floating a bit.
there's this funny word, right, called skeuomorphism. Okay, and I'll look it up. This is a sort of by the by, but this is kind of just one of those kind of things. Yeah. So this is like skeuomorphism, this sort of realistic look. Mac had it for years, and it's basically something that's supposed to, this digital that sort of looks like the real world. So the reason you would probably put in multiple drop shadows here is to make it look as if it's the sun's actually hitting it in a particular way.
Okay.
So if you look at the way Google does it, they've got like 3 drop shadows on one of their cards. Okay.
I dropped a link there for that.
Oh, did you? Excellent. Yeah, guys, have a look at that. It's really good code. That'll save me doing it. And thanks, man. But that's how you do it. The reason, like this here, you can see, in fact, I think Mikhail actually got this perfect as well. We've actually got 2 here because this one's trying to look a bit like a reflection. See, it's just very subtle. And because they're semi-transparent, you can layer them on top of each other. You've probably seen this look years ago. This is a very Macintoshy kind of look, where everything looked 3D-dimensional as if it was coming off the page.
It was on iPhone as well, I think.
Yeah.
4 or...
It got absolutely terrible, and they just tore it out. And yeah, it was getting absolutely ridiculous. It was Steve Jobs was taking pictures.
Yeah, it looked like somebody learned that the technique and then they just copy and paste everywhere.
Yeah, and it got really distracting as well. But part of the reason they had this because of the low resolution displays, so it'd pop out at you. Whereas now we've got high resolution displays. But it's mainly just to bring this kind of idea of realism in. That, believe it or not, is probably more fashionable. Having it look completely flat. You know, this is how it'd probably look in Windows.
Actually, I had a problem as well. I was trying to put like a sort of drop shadow on the on my text, but it doesn't seem to be appearing.
Oh, is this in CSS?
Yeah, I was trying to find the code that I was using.
So basically, there's 2 kinds of drop shadow. There's box shadow and there's text shadow.
Okay.
So box shadow would apply to something like this here, right? A div, basically. The text shadow, as you can imagine, is purely for text.
Okay.
So that's something to keep in mind. You think that's what it is?
It probably is, to be honest. When you're kind of doing these, like when you're trying to do like a website like this from scratch, you kind of forget all the different options until you like look at someone else's thing and you're like, yeah, of course.
Well, you see me. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm like, how's it you center that again? What's it justify align this? There's so many different things and they're all basically kind of conflicting with each other. You think about it, font size, you know, then line height. Line height's how you control the lines between the actual sentences. But should that not be font line or something? You know, it's not even consistent.
I also have a problem. I know it's a really silly and probably stupid problem, but do you know the title of the page, the gym membership thing up at the top left?
Yeah.
Mine's kind of like sitting right over the cards, and I'm trying to like move it up to the top corner, but I don't really know how to do that. I tried like text aligning it, but.
So this is where, yeah. What's probably happening here, David, is you're adding code when you should be removing it.
Yeah.
You know, this is because this is really simple. You know what I mean? This is just an H1, maybe an H2, and a paragraph. Underneath there's going to be a margin that pushes everything else down.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really as simple as that. But what happens with CSS is that people start getting confused and then they start adding more and more things. Now, maybe if I move this there and if I change the gap, and then before you know it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was like figuring out the spacing within the cards themselves was like, so adding a load of like margins and kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm still not too sure how to go about using like REM and EM as opposed to pixels.
Yeah.
Just like putting in random numbers and seeing how it looks and then adjusting it accordingly.
Yeah, this is it, and this is what you're going to have to keep doing. Really, it is a very difficult thing. The reason, I mean, personally, the spacing between there, and in fact, we've seen it with FlexBox, is you could just put gap in, and it's going to handle it. You know what I mean? Like I would put that, would say that's about 2M. And the reason I'm doing it as 2M is that if somebody increases their font size, the spacing will also increase. Whereas if we just have it pixels, it's static.
And see with the magic code you gave us in the chat there, what's F4 for? Like, what does it stand for?
Just a fraction. One fraction. Right, so we still got it up. It's on this one, isn't it, here? And let's go live again. Okay, so let's get into the little gallery. Again, I want to do as little as possible. You know? We want the browser to make as many decisions as possible. Because remember, when we're writing CSS, we're just suggesting things. Okay? There's no guarantee that it's ever going to look like this, because we don't know how it's going to be seen. It's not like making a book. So, where did that go? Oh, there it is there, isn't it? That's it.
Also, you probably already know, but it's like this lesson and the past lesson. I think what you're showing us is kind of lagging behind.
Is it?
So yeah,
yeah.
It's real laggy, like the.
I think it is, isn't it? So the reason I'll be able to fix that for next time, but the reason is this: I'm trying to, like I say, record it. So when I'm sharing the screen with you, what I'm actually doing is wiring it through something called OBS. You know, like a streamer. It's basically what they use. You know, so that means I can record it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll try and get that sorted for next time.
It's not too much of an issue. Like, as long as we can hear you and like we can like, I think your actual mouse moves around a bit quicker.
Oh God! Right. Yeah, I think. Let's see. Actually, I'll just go to desktop only so I can hide myself. It'll be a little less distracting. But yeah, I'll sort that for next time. I'll route everything through OBS. This is clear enough. You can actually see this. Read it okay.
That link should be working fine. Actually, just because you have it on the screen, if you refresh that, it should be all right now, I think.
Yes. Perfect. So was it the uppercase thing?
Yeah, but it was weird. I had to actually delete the whole repository because I couldn't figure out how to delete the folder. And
yeah, that's Windows.
It mattered that the folder had caps in it as well. I don't know. So I just re-uploaded it.
It is a pain because it's Windows. You know, it's not basically.
Well, good to know. It's better that it happens now with something so tiny than it's like 500 lines or something.
Or even worse, you've got one file out of 100, and yeah, I've been there quite recently. You know, like Netlify, that wouldn't compile because I'd named something slightly different in uppercase. So where were we? We're having a look at this main CSS.
I'm going to drop off if you don't mind.
Of course, Gareth. Yeah, anytime you want. Of course, man. Night night. See ya. Yep, just feel free to go if he's want to drop off. But let's say if you want to keep going, I'm here.
Okay. Have a good weekend, guys.
All right. See ya.
Bye bye.
Also head off. Bye. See you guys.
Okay. Bye.
Okay.
Who have we got left? 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 3 left. Right. So,
okay, I think I'm gonna go as well.
Okay, that's fine. If there's nothing you want to talk about.
You wanna explain something else, or that's it?
Sorry?
Are you going to guide us through something, or that's...
Well, no, basically I was going to make sure that George has got his GitHub up and running.
That's fine. No problem.
Yeah, I sorted it out. I managed.
Are you sure you've sorted out, George? You're not telling me we porky pies, are you? So you can get away?
No,
Eh?
no, I'll put it in the chat. I managed.
So you can, right, you can now push to your GitHub. You can push changes to GitHub. Right, let's see. The repository.
I thought we can have free will. And
Okay, you.
I did way different. But I'm following now the process. that
Oh,
she gave us.
okay, you man. That's really nice. And you're using the pseudo classes. That's really nice, isn't it?
I was googling a lot of stuff, and I wanted, I thought that's why I thought that we had free will for the gym membership and just to have a
Oh, that's nice.
idea.
Yeah.
That was just to Google, just.
So that's really nice. I like
I
that.
was struggling even with the gym membership, when you hover, it goes that line underneath, and all that.
Yeah. And that's really good. And that's good, and it's live, so we're good. You did it.
Yeah, so that's what I managed. I was doing.
Good man. Good man. Is there anything else you guys want to chat about?
No, I'm alright.
You okay, Kelvin?
Yeah. Thanks.
My pleasure. Okay.
I'm gonna go off now as well. So good night, guys.
Good night, Kelvin.
I'm gonna go as well. See ya.
Okay, I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks so much.
Night night.